Good morning, afternoon, evening, what have you. Doing this video is a response to one done by the Tail's End. And you'll have to bear with me because this may be a little hard on me. Where was I on 9/11? Well, when I first heard about 9/11 and what the incidents that were happening, I was asleep. I was lying in bed. I wasn't working at that time. I was living with 3 very good friends. We were all in various stages of sleep. 2 people were up, but myself and one other guy were still back asleep in the room that we shared at the time. And all I remember hearing was Drew, who was one of my roommates then, "You need to get up and come see this. Planes crashed into the Pentagon." And that was enough that I was up like a shot. I was pulling on a robe. I was stumbling into the living room to stare at the TV and see what the hell was going on. I also started to panic at that point in time because I lived in Woodbridge, Virginia, which was not that far from the Pentagon, really. And my mom worked in D.C., and my dad lived in D.C. at the time, and I was scared out of my mind that something was going to happen to them. And I was very frantically trying to get somebody on the phone who could tell me what was going on. I couldn't get through because, of course, the lines were busy. And things like that. And I spent the next 3 or 4 hours being utterly paranoid that one or both of my parents may be dead. My friend Drew, on the other hand, he had more to worry about because his father worked at the Pentagon. Come to find out later that his office had been moved recently. But if it had not been for his office being moved because they were doing work on the area, his original office was right where the plane hit. So it was a very close call. It was a very, very close call. And then for the rest of the day, we all just sort of sat there kind of numb, watching the events unfold. I can't even begin to say how many times I cried that day. There was also so much to deal with. It took a day or two before I could actually drive to go see my dad because, everything was just such a mess in D.C. But of course, the route that I had to take into D.C. drove us right by the Pentagon. And I really drove it all in. Seeing it with your own eyes makes it so much more real. As if it wasn't real enough, that just drove it home like a nail to the chest. Excuse me. Got to see my dad. I'd already gotten word from a friend of my mother's that she was okay. Wonders of email and the fact that email wasn't down that day. And then began the next few days of, putting everything together, learning, God, what we really didn't know was the beginning of a long, hard road for this country. And I had the problem that 3 days afterwards, I had to celebrate my birthday. I was 23, when the incident hit. 3 days later, I was turning 24. And I felt so horrible walking into a restaurant with my parents to sit down and celebrate the turning of another year when there was so much pain.
It's 10:30 a.m.
So much pain everywhere. There was a moment of silence at the via the TV on the restaurant when we were at the restaurant that we were at that day. And then I just tried to push most of it down and live life, try not to let it pull down too much. You couldn't get away from the pictures on the news when they were cleaning things up. Really didn't hit me until I was 22 turning 23. My time sense is horrible. It wasn't until I think the next year that it really hit me hard, because I was out at Ruby Tuesdays with friends on my birthday the next year. My friend had gotten me a little drunk, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But I happened to look over at the TV, and they were showing, well, the Trade Center's falling. And it took me from being oh so happy to bawling my eyes out. I couldn't take it. It was too much right then. I don't know if anyone from my high school or middle school or anyone that I know was in the military enough to go overseas after that. I really don't know if I've lost anyone personally. The only thing I feel that I lost at that point in time is a measure of innocence. I didn't really think I realized how innocent I was until I looked back at how I was before 9/11. But it's hard to put it all aside when the remembrances come up every year. It was really hard. And I feel for those people that did lose someone on that day. Anyone that's lost someone they know in the service, in the armed forces since then. I support our troops wholeheartedly. They're doing what they signed up to do. They're doing their jobs. I simply don't agree with the war that we're in. And it's wasting lives. It's wasting money. But that's another thing for another day. That's not what this is about. Well, that's pretty much it. That's what I was doing on 9/11. And I think I'm going to go now. So you all be well. Take care of each other and yourself.